Okay, we have some shout outs and questions. Many of you are asking, what are we doing with Courtroom Insider going forward? So tomorrow night, I'm hoping to have something, hoping to have some interviews or something. If not, we'll maybe do a recap of the case, and then I'll be headed home. And um, in a couple of weeks, well, I'll keep you posted. Just follow along. I'm hoping to do a series of reports in July about another case that I've been working on. And then I'll be back here for sentencing. Of course, we'll do some courtroom insiders here. And then the Koberger case will start right away at end of July. And I'll be doing courtroom insider for that case almost every night throughout that trial. There's a couple days I'll be gone or go, going to different places and I won't be able to do it. But other than that, plan on that for Courtroom Insider. And then there's some other cases that I'm looking into covering in the next few years. So next year or so, I should say. So that is what we have planned. I got to tell you that we had a really good a woman a couple of weeks ago emailed me and said, I own a restaurant near the airport. I'd love for you to come in for lunch one day. I'll treat you to lunch. And just because I follow the case. And I said, I'd never responded because I didn't know if getting away for lunch is very hard around here because of a trial. Well, today the verdict came in before noon, and Jordan and I had time to go to lunch, and it was called the Lunch Lounge. And we just showed up, and I was live streaming on our YouTube feed. I was doing a lunch update, and we walked in, and she was not there, but they recognized us, and so she was able to. They were her husband and her daughter were there, and so her name is Casey Martinez. She said, we don't want to shout out or in recognition. We love East Idaho News. They watch Courtroom Insider. They're open for breakfast and lunch, Monday through Friday, 7 to 2. Awesome espressos, sandwiches, salads, a great drink bar, handcrafted lemonades, shaken iced tea, and energy drinks. We love to have you when you come in. So we showed up. We walked in. They got her on FaceTime. I chatted with her. I left her some mugshot buttons and some pens. We had the best lunch. Here's me with my turkey club, which was amazing. Jordan got a Chipotle ranch panini. And there he is with that. And a pear lemonade. I don't know if you can see it. I'll post the photos on my Facebook. So it was great. I'm gonna miss so many places to eat here in Phoenix. There's places to eat in Idaho Falls, of course, in East Idaho, but we've had a really really great time here in Phoenix. Okay. Shout outs. So thank you, by the way. Thank you to the Lunch Lounge. And I would recommend it Monday to Friday if you're near there. It's kind of in a business development area right next to a hotel. Stopping for lunch. It was some really good stuff. Shout outs. Andrea and Scott Freschetti and your son. We have a photo here of us. They sent that to me. We have Mary and Kayla from Idaho, Preston. Thank you. Dinah1116 from Hungary, Michelle Cook from Erie, Pennsylvania, Don Studley, Karen Erickson from Arizona. Karen, saw you a couple days at the trial. Alex from Centerville, you and your you and your wife watch every day. Thank you very much. Andrea and Scott, yes, I just mentioned you. They have a 10-year-old named Jackson. He's sad he didn't get to meet me. Jackson, thanks, buddy. Thanks for watching. I promise there's not much exciting about meeting me, but hopefully we'll meet one day. Garcia fan and Dan, you've been watching us since Hawaii. Video just appeared in your YouTube feed and you haven't been able to turn away. Well, thank you. My teenagers are so puzzled by me watching Courtroom Insider every night, even on vacation. I posted a video on Nate's Facebook page from Japan while we were on vacation. My kids think I'm crazy. They just don't understand my obsession with true crime and East Idaho news. I'm very flattered by that. Thank you very much. I appreciate your kind words. Sherry Clifton, thank you to you as well. And now we'll get to some questions. Rita, the cell phone number. So I should say a lot of your questions probably now we don't have we have a verdict. So they might be moot at this point, depending on, we'll just go through the list. Cell phone numbers were mentioned a lot in court. Do phone providers retire numbers involved in large court cases? That's a good question, Rita. I don't think so. I feel bad for whoever has my old number from Virginia. I got a new number when I moved here. I know that one of my friends a few years ago called it and said, "Hi, Nate." And he said, "This isn't Nate Eaton's phone number. Don't call again." The guy was not happy. So I don't think they retire them. But maybe they would. I'm sure they just recycle them. Hannah asks if I know if Chad was able to watch Lorie's trial. I doubt he was able to watch it all. If he was able to watch, I don't think they get Court TV in there, but um, the I don't know the specific channel lineup. I do know he does have a television in his cell, and I know that he has likely been made aware of the guilty verdict today. Do you know if Melanie was with Alex the night before Brandon was shot at? I have no idea. I don't know. I did wonder because they said that the cell phone, Alex's cell phone, pinged near her house, or not pinged, but was in the area near her house the morning of the shooting. I wondered if he maybe spent the night at her house, but I don't know. Did you see the two spectators get removed from the courthouse for taking photos? Yes. However, they were removed from the courtroom and then they were allowed back in. So they didn't do anything naughty, from what we understand. I think that sometimes, you hold up your phone like this. They have security cameras and they're able to pull what's called the FTR for the record. And they go back and they can review it. And if you look suspicious, they're not going to handle it. Of the excused alternates, was one of them the women that, excuse me, I'm tired. Was one of them the woman that smiled and things seemed to click with her? Yes, Ada asks that. I said the other day that one of the jurors, when the tire was being wheeled in, she and Hermosillo, they asked what that was, and he said it was a tire. She kind of smiled like, like I got it. And then she wrote something in her notebook. She was excused. She was one of the alternates. If she's watching, I'd love to talk to her too. I was kind of watching her. She was front row center the whole trial, and she was taking good notes. Do you really think Lorie's dad was giving her legal advice? I heard they talk all the time. I don't think that is correct. I don't think that's right as far as them talking all the time. From what I understand, he's talked to her a few times, but never about legal issues. So I don't believe that that is true, at least while she's been in prison. Maybe he gave her legal advice before all this, but I don't think that they're talking while she's in prison. She does talk to her mom and has had on and off communication, I believe, with her sister, but not much. It just kind of depends. Since they can't bring charges on Chad for Charles, can they bring them on Brandon? Oh, with Chad. Okay, that makes sense. Can they charge Chad with Brandon's crime, with the crime against Brandon? We talked about that last night, Nancy. No, well, they could, but they have said they're not going to because they don't believe that there's enough for a conviction. So they don't want to pursue it, and I don't know. It might be a moot point by now, but can you tell us what the jury faces look like when the closing statements were made by Lorie and Trina? Yeah, good question. They were focused. They were very focused. They were straight ahead at Trina. And then Trina, when she had her power, how it's set up in the courtroom is there's a massive like movie screen that's directly in front of the jurors. So everything is big. So when they wheeled in the tire, you can see it on the big screen. And then there's a monitor here by the witness stand. And then there's some monitors in the gallery that we can look at. So they've got a straight on view, like I'm looking at you. And they were focused. They were kind of locked into her and Lorie too. They did a good job with poker faces the whole time. I did see a jurors yawn a time or two during one of the real technical testimonies, I think, about the cell phones, but not saying that he was boring, just, when I was tired, yawns. I think I'll sleep well tonight. I understand how Court TV couldn't show the agent's face, but why didn't they show us the slides he had prepared? Good question, Diana. If the slides contained, the order was not to show cell phone numbers, addresses on anything in the trial. Cell phone numbers, addresses, anything that might still be considered private. Now they did read out some numbers, but they tended to dip the mute on that. So if one of the slides contained that, also if the slide was overly graphic, there weren't any in this trial, but if it was overly graphic, like in Charles's, the autopsy photos, the judges ordered not to show that. And they probably were overly sensitive. You want to be more careful rather than try to push it and accidentally show something you shouldn't. What was the most surprising moment for you, Nate, in this case? I think the fact that they said Melanie's still under investigation. That to me was the headline. Uh, wasn't surprised by the verdict. Wasn't surprised by the surveillance footage in the storage unit. We've gone through that. There's a lot of evidence that I wasn't really surprised by, but the Melanie, that surprised me. Are the jurors allowed to speak with you now that it's over? How do you get a hold of them if they're willing? Good question. In Idaho, they asked the jurors who's interested in talking to the media. And those that are, they give them their cell phone and their email addresses. And then I requested from the court who's interested in talking to the media, and they gave me a list. That was on the second trial. The first trial, I had 2 jurors reach out to me on Lorie's first trial. And so they contacted me, and they had the first trial Dateline aired that night. And one of the jurors went home and watched it and then reached out to me, saw me on Dateline. The other juror had heard about me from a friend and reached out to me. Chad's trial, the jurors, we were given a list, and I called them all up. Actually, before I was given the list, a friend, a former news anchor I worked with, his daughter knew one of the jurors. So the news anchor friend, Brad, reached out to me and said, my daughter knows him. And I said, well, she asked. So we coordinated the night before, the Sunday night before, and I took him to breakfast, and we did an interview right after that. Nick Vogel was his name. And then I met with the other jurors. Here in Arizona, they don't do that. Some states, you write a letter and they give the letter to all the jurors. It just depends on the state. What they did here in the first trial is they asked the jurors, do you want to speak to the media? And apparently they said no, or some did and some didn't. They said no. And so then they said, okay, you can go home. And they walked him out the front door, and the media pounced. And that's how we got a few of them. This trial, they said, we're not going to do that again. They said, do you want to talk to the media? They apparently said no. Or sometimes when you're in a group, if you don't really mind, like, yeah, I'll talk to the media, but everyone else says no, you're going to be like, yeah, I'll go along with you. And then they walked them out another entrance, and they were gone before we even made it outside. So I don't know their names. I don't know if I'll get any jurors this time around. I'd love to, and hopefully they can reach out. But if not, I understand. In your opinion, did Alex Cox really pass away from natural causes? If I remember right, it was reported a blood clot in his lung, but it was a big coincidence that it happened during all the Lorie events in 2019. I can't help but think about Tammy's death, which was originally reported as natural causes, but we learned later that Chad and Lorie were involved. And that's written to me from a guy named Alex. Alex, I share your sentiment, as do many people. So I'm going to show you, we got the full autopsy and toxicology. And it may be that this is the one coincidence in all of this. That's what was told to me by an investigator years ago. There are people associated with the case who say, nope, something happened. Chad and Lorie did something. We don't know why. There are people who say Alex Cox went to Mexico and got drugs, some like prescription drugs before he died, and maybe that did something. There are people who say maybe he was the first COVID death, one of them. He had been in Vegas marrying Zulema. But we have the medical examiner and toxology reports on our website, and it is very in-depth that according to the extensive investigative history, and provided that the detectives at the time, the decedent was reportedly complaining of chest pain and shortness of breath for approximately 1 week prior to being found unresponsive on his bathroom floor on 12/12/2019. He was transported to a local hospital where death was pronounced shortly after arrival. According to his wife, the decedent had no past medical history and was not taking any routine medicines. The decedent's wife reported the decedent had complaints of burning in his chest and shortness of breath on Friday the 6th. Law enforcement also relate that they have an open investigation involving the decedent. Based on the autopsy findings and investigative history as available to me, it is my opinion that Alexander Lamar Cox, 51, died as a result of bilateral pulmonary thromboemboli with contributing factors of atherosclerotic and hypertensive cardiovascular degrees. The manner of death is natural, and he was cremated. So that's that. I don't know. The bigger thing is, if he would not have died, we would have at least 4 other trials. Well, we'd have him on trial for Brandon, for Charles, for JJ, Tylee, Tammy. Yeah, you'd have 4, maybe 5. They combine JJ and Tylee. Can you imagine? What a chain of events. How do you do such a great job keeping the... Oh, my TV just flipped. Well, I better turn that off. I must have been talking for longer than an hour. There we go. Pretend that didn't happen. How do you do such a great job keeping the video camera away from accidentally pointing toward the jury box or the undercover special agent that testified? Oh, that's all Court TV. That's not me. They do a good job. In your opinion, why do you think Alex Cox called Chad Dable instead of Lorie from the burner phone in the current Brandon trial? I don't know. I wondered that myself. Maybe part of their ruse, I guess. I have no idea. Maybe Chad set it all up. Maybe Chad said, this is how you're going to kill him. Go here, do this, park there, do that. Then you'll try to kill Tammy the same way the next week. Chad's fingerprints were all over it. Like, not figuratively, but, well, not literally, but figuratively. In your opinion, do you think Brandon Boudreaux would want his wife, Melanie, to be locked up for a long period of time? Or do you think he wants her to be free from prison so she can be a mother to the kids? Well, if you just saw in that exchange outside, somebody asked him that about, do you think Melanie should be charged? And he said he didn't want to talk about that today. I don't know. I don't know. I'll ask him. I hope he does an interview one day. And if he does, I'll let you know. I'll ask that question. He might not want to talk about it yet because it's under investigation, but we'll see. Where has Lorie's mother been with the Lorie trials? Have you seen her mother at all, or given her interviews or posted jail phone calls? I saw her mother at one hearing in January when I flew out. She came there. She wasn't there necessarily to support Lorie. They have told me repeatedly, her family, that they don't support what she's done, but she came to see her. But no, she has not come to any of the trials. And I don't know how often they're talking or what they're talking about. I wonder what the software is you use to go live and share the screen and such. Well, it's a couple of things. We have a program called OBS Studio that we use. And then I have what's called an ATEM Mini Blackmagic little control panel in front of me. It's like a little control board. I don't know how to show it to you, but well, maybe I can hold it up. I just don't want to lose the connection. So I have this thing right here. That's my little control thing. So I push the buttons and I switch between the screens, and I can have 4 sources in here. And then I have this little thing, which when I push buttons, things appear on the screen like that. Or like, oh, if I push that button, you don't hear me. So that one still works. Now I'm playing with buttons. So anyway, these are my hotkeys that I call them. I got to redo them all, but Jordan did them for me, actually. Has anyone ever pointed out to you the consistent presence of hot, bald men through this whole case? First Charles, a hot, bald man, is murdered. And those who help him get justice, Lieutenant Ray Hermosillo and Prosecutor Rob Wood, are also hot, bald men. You're balding too, Nate. What's the trend? Thank you. I don't know if I'm balding. But yes, I guess they're all attractive. Why did Trina K not bring up the text about Lorie's phone about Brandon being dark? She said she wasn't going to go there with this trial. The dark, the light, all that stuff, the religious cult stuff. They didn't even bring it in. Otherwise, we probably would be on trial for another 4 days. They clearly didn't need it. They clearly did not need it to get their conviction. And they probably could have gotten the conviction with even less people. They may have gotten the conviction without the cell phone activity, but they wanted to include that. So that's probably why. Will Emmy be interviewing anyone from this case? I don't think so. I don't think so. Last night you mentioned you're going to go out to the pool and do a live. That's very rude to those people who are trying to swim. Okay, well, I didn't go out and do a live. I've said I do a Courtroom Insider by the pool, but if people are in it, it could be a distraction and I wouldn't do it. So I'll stay here in my room. Okay, everybody, I think that we are going to call it there. And I just want to thank you for watching. Thank you for being here during this past trial. We'll do one more show tomorrow night. Might not have much to say, or I might have all these interviews. I don't know yet. I'm going to work on getting that done, but really appreciate you watching. Here is where you can find me. Well, you know where I'm at on social media. Just, look me up, follow along, and we'll see you tomorrow night.